Hey, I'm Mark, and this is how I record guitars for YouTube. So what you heard in the intro is my guitar going into my tube amp being recorded directly into Logic using a speaker impulse response to emulate the speaker. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to demonstrate my method for this kind of recording. I'm going to give you a checklist on how to set it up. I'm going to give you the signal flow and tell you why I think this is relevant or important. So let's start with the checklist. So obviously you'll need a guitar and whatever effects pedals that you like to use. The next thing that you're going to need, and this is crucial, is a tube amp with a effects loop in it. The next thing you're going to need is a direct box, some sort of volume control or volume pedal. You're going to need an interface and recording software, obviously, and then you're going to need some sort of impulse response loader and impulse responses. Now, signal flow is obviously guitar signal goes to your pedal board into your amplifier. But from there, what you do is using the effects loop, you come out of the effects send into the direct box. Using the XLR out, you go into your interface and record into your DAW, which I'm using Logic. Now on the direct box, there's usually a through or a 1/4 inch out. So you can take that and go directly back into your effects return. And if you don't have any neighbors or family members to worry about bothering with loud volume, then you're all set. But as in most cases, there probably are neighbors and other people to be mindful of. So you probably want to bring the decibel level in your room down. So this is where the volume control comes in, or a volume pedal if you have one. So in my case, I just built a little volume pot in an enclosure for me to use for this application specifically. And all it is a audio taper volume pot. So it's important to note that this is only supposed to go in your effects loop, not in between your amp and your speaker. It's not a load box. It doesn't do anything like that. So don't try putting your volume pedal between your speaker and your amp. You'll blow something up probably. So once you have all that plugged in and ready to go, you've checked that you see level in your recording interface, go ahead and dial your tone in to what you like in the room. Make sure your gain staging is correct going into Logic. You have good level. And then you probably want to bring the decibel level down using the volume pot. So then you're ready to record. So let's do that. Let's go ahead and let's record a little take here, and I'll let you hear kind of what it sounds like going in directly in. Okay, so that's pretty hairy, but that's because you're bypassing your speaker. In this case, I'm recording just my guitar, my overdrive pedal, and the 12AX7 tubes in the preamp of my amplifier. I'm completely bypassing the power amp section and the speaker. So what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to emulate those things inside my recording software. So on this channel, I have loaded up Space Designer, and this is actually a new IR that I just got today that I've been checking out. And I was trying to find something that matched what was in my amp. So this is an A-type speaker for American type, and this is a Fender amp. So I'm trying to match what I'm hearing in the room as closely as possible. So let's hear it, and then I'll add in the impulse response. Okay, so that's way better. I mean, that obviously sounds like a speaker, and you'd probably be fine with just that. In my case, I wanted to take it one step further and emulate the power amp section of my amp since I'm bypassing that. So I found a plugin from Ignite Amps that's actually free, or at least it was when I got it. So what it does is, it's called the TPA, and it's basically a tube power amp amplifier emulation. So one of the things that's crucial about a tube amp section is it usually has a presence control. And then on the back here, you have a couple of different power amp emulations to choose from. And since I'm playing a Fender, I'm using the 6L6, and you have bias and sagging controls to really kind of match the sound of your amp in the room. So let's hear a little bit of this. Let's hear this sample again, and I'll add this in and kind of play with the controls so you can hear what it sounds like. Okay, so the controls in the front panel are all pretty natural sounding and fairly subtle. That you can get some presence if you dial it all the way up. The bias and sagging controls are where you can really shape the tone of your amp here. The bias has hot and cold, that's pretty obvious. The sagging works the same way. Towards the left is tighter, and towards the right is a little bit of a looser sound. So the reason I thought this would be interesting is because I've seen a lot of guitar players on YouTube using stuff like the 2 Notes Torpedo Live or the 2 Notes Captor. And both of those are designed to do essentially this, but it's a more professional level setup. So this is a bit of a workaround for sure, but it's also good if you're in that intermediate stage where you're trying to figure out what gear to get and what matches your budget and everything like that. So if you don't have a direct box, you can pick those up for not too much money. If you have a volume pedal, you're already ready to go. If you don't and want to get the volume control, you can pick that up on Reverb. And if you're using Logic, you already have like an impulse response loader plus amp designer. If you don't, there's a lot of options out there for those things. And also, Celestion and Ownhammer both offer free downloads to check out their IRs, which is how I got started. So if this is something that you might want to try for yourself, in the description box, I'll leave the checklist, and I'll leave the signal chain, and I'll leave a link to the Reverb store for the volume control, as well as the 2 Note stuff for you to check out as well. And I'll also include links to Ownhammer and Celestion for their free downloads. And apart from that, if there's something in the video that I didn't explain clearly, or you have a question about this setup, definitely leave me a comment and ask me and let me know, and I'll try to answer to the best of my ability. So that's all I have for you today. If you liked this video and it was useful, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. And if you're new to my channel, check out some of my other videos, and we'll see you all again real soon with a new video.